Today, I'm giving you 3 teams to finally beat that Magma Dragon. What is going on, Raiders? Soda Dragon here. Today, I'm giving you 3 teams, or the core of 3 teams, that will enable you to beat any difficulty of the Magma Dragon. So for this rotation of the Doom Tower, the Eternal Dragon, Kuldath maxes out at hard 100. So that's what we're going to be using when I'm going to show you the teams. But for the Frost Spider rotation, he maxes out at 110. But it's not a big deal. These teams will still work. In fact, they will work better for that Frost Spider rotation, even though Kuldath is 10 levels higher. It's because we're going to have affinity advantages in that Frost Spider rotation that we don't have right now. So what are the differences between the Eternal Dragon version of Kuldath, level 100, and the Frost Spider version of Kuldath, level 110? The only differences besides affinity, right, he goes from force to magic, is 3 stats. All the stats are exactly the same in the 2 different versions of the Kuldath, except for 3. So those 3 are crit damage, crit rate, and speed. Of those 3, all we are concerned about is speed. We just need to be fast enough, faster than Kuldath. And with Kuldath's speed, it's really not that hard. So for the Eternal Dragon 100 hard, make sure you are faster than 175 speed. That is Kuldath's speed. So for the Frost Spider 110 hard, make sure you are faster than 200 speed. Like I said, very reasonable. Okay, so obviously if you're faster than 200, then you're good enough for both of the Magma Dragons. So guys, here is our first team. Yes, you can Paragon cheese the Magma Dragon. So how does this team work? Well, Sentinel is the provoker. So Sentinel has a really nice A1 provoke. Very high chance to land if you can build in crit rate. And Sentinel is going to be my choice for provoker for all the teams that I'm going to show you. So very reasonable as far as accessibility, right? He's just a rare. And we have Paragon here to cast Unkillable on Sentinel, because Sentinel is going to be taking big hits from the Magma Dragon. And Paragon can keep that Unkillable buff up with 100% uptime, so he can protect your Sentinel from getting killed. So here are some tips if you want to use this Paragon cheese comp. So firstly, make sure you use a full 5-person team, right? Don't just go at it with 2 people here. This is just to show you the essential people involved in this team comp. So run a full 5-person team, plus make sure everybody on the team is faster than the Magma Dragon. So in this rotation, it is 175. That is the Eternal Dragon rotation. For the Frost Spider rotation, it's going to be 200. So make sure everybody on your team is over 200 speed. Secondly, I found that this turn order works the best. It's going to be Sentinel first, so attacking with that A1 and provoking the Magma Dragon. You're going to have Paragon second, putting that Unkillable buff on Sentinel, and the Magma Dragon going last. So once again, it's Sentinel first, then Paragon, then the Magma Dragon. I find that rotation works the best. If you use Paragon first and cast the Unkillable buff on your Sentinel, and then Sentinel attacks with that A1, he loses a Unkillable buff prematurely. So he's going to get attacked before Paragon has that Unkillable buff back up. So make sure, once again, the order is Sentinel, Paragon, then Magma Dragon. And everybody else can go whenever they're going to go. It doesn't matter. So the first person I saw do this on video was BGE. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to see his team comp. But his team comp and my team comp are very different as far as how we should approach the Magma Dragon. So in BGE's video, he actually had 2 provokers on his team, but they were A1 provokers. Now, I personally don't think that's the best way to run a cheese comp with Paragon. If you have 2 A1 provokers, what happens is sometimes the wrong person, that is that guy without the Unkillable buff, will get that provoke off on the Magma Dragon. Then the Magma Dragon will attack the guy without the Unkillable buff. That's why it is definitely good to bring in a backup provoker, and I recommended that in my first video on Kuldath. But your backup provoker should not have that provoke on their A1. So this combo right here, something like Sentinel and Greybeard, would not be a good combo because they both have their provoke on their A1. Really, we're looking for that secondary provoker to have the provoke on another skill, not their A1. So here would be a much better option for a backup provoker, someone like Jizzo. So just in case Sentinel's provoke fails, then Jizzo can come in with this A3, and booked he has a 100% chance to land that provoke for 2 turns and take a little bit of the pressure off of Sentinel occasionally if he needs it. Another problem with this comp is that it is a manual comp the whole way through. So it works, I've done it, and you can see BGE do it. So I have 2 other comps to show you that are full auto. So, I mean, whenever possible, I definitely go for those full auto comps. So here is your first team. We have the Double Sentinels, right? Normal Sentinel and Sepulcher Sentinel. So how does this team work? Well, firstly, the gold guy there, Sentinel, we're heavily relying on him for his A1 provoke. So booked, 85% chance to land a provoke when he gets a crit. So we're gonna build him with crit rate. We can increase that to 90% with Masteries. So we're really heavily leaning on his 90% chance to land a provoke with his A1. We're gonna just have him doing his A1 the whole time. Plus he heals himself for 10% of his max health every time he takes the turn, which is awesome. Plus, in this round, he is a neutral affinity, so we have force on force. But once we get to the Frost Spider version, then Sentinel becomes a better affinity, right? Because we see that magic affinity with Kuldath, and he's going to be force. So Kuldath is going to land a lot of weak hits against Sentinel. That's why I think Sentinel is superior to using somebody like Greybeard. Okay, so definitely Sentinel is going to be your first choice because he works great here. Plus, once we get to that Frost Spider rotation, he is the stronger affinity. So what about Sepulcher Sentinel? What does she do? Well, firstly, she has a really nice defensive aura. She has an attack down strong version on her A1. Her A2 has defense up and block debuffs. And she has this crazy passive where if an ally is attacked, sometimes they will take no damage. So booked, it's a 50% chance for an ally to take no damage. So sometimes Sentinel just won't take any damage. Magma Dragon will attack him and he will take 0 damage. So basically in between those rounds where Sentinel is not taking any damage, he's healing back up with his passive. So he has enough health when those attacks do get through to tank those hits. So they work really well together. Notice Sepulcher Sentinel is also force, so she's fine here. But once we get to that Frost Spider version of the Magma Dragon, she's going to be the superior affinity as well. So can you beat the Magma Dragon with just these 2? Yes. So technically this is a duo. I have beaten the Magma Dragon with just these 2, but it relies a lot on RNG. Really, you are leaning heavily on Sepulcher Sentinel's passive to proc a ton. That means you're leaning a lot on RNG, right? So really, if you want a more consistent run, just add in Syl. It makes the run so much more consistent. Now, is it absolutely 100% needed for this run to have Syl? No, it is not. You can do it with the 2 Sentinels, but that run consistency is going to be much lower. Once you add in Syl, it's like 100 times better. Plus, once you add in other characters, you get your backup provoker or your backup healer. It's going to be 1,000 times more consistent. All right, so I'm just going to show you the run with these 3 just to, show you it works. But that is not the best way to run this team. A 3-person team, a 2-person team, that's just for proof of concept. Definitely fill out your whole 5-person team to make your runs more consistent. So here is your third comp, and it is Jerick. So instead of Sepulcher Sentinel, we have Jerick in the lead. He has a nice HP aura in all battles. He has a strong version attack down on his A1. Even with the affinity disadvantage, it lands at an okay rate. We'll talk about that in a second. But his A2, he has ally protection and defense up on everybody on the team. Huge for protecting Sentinel. Absolutely huge. Even if the Magma Dragon does not have an attack down debuff on him. If Jerick has that ally protection and defense up, man, Sentinel will not die. All right, Jerick is that good with that A2. And he has a nice passive as well. If anyone takes a big hit, Jerick is automatically going to put a strong version continuous heal on them. So you're going to see that continuous heal go up a lot on Sentinel. So not only is Sentinel here healing because of Syl and because of himself, but he's also healing because of Jerick. So this is a great combo, even with the affinity disadvantage. So is Syl necessary to this comp? With my gear on my Jerick, I would say yes. I don't have him in any sort of regeneration or immortal gear, so his health is constantly going down because of that ally protection on Sentinel. And with that, he usually is not taking big enough hits to activate his passive, that continuous heal. So definitely you're going to need someone to keep his health up because he's not getting his own passive procced a lot of the time. Now Sentinel is, but Jerick usually is not unless Sentinel fails with its A1 provoke and everyone's taking big hits with those AoEs from the Magma Dragon. So Syl fits in perfectly here. So if you have some sort of regeneration gear on your Jerick, maybe Syl isn't necessary, but if you do not, then Syl or some sort of healer would be necessary for this comp to work. So if you plan to use this comp for this rotation of the Magma Dragon, the Force Affinity version, then I would definitely recommend bringing in another attack down champ that does not have a weak affinity to the Magma Dragon, because having that attack down on the boss at all time makes a huge difference. So definitely fill out the rest of your team. Just like the other comps, you want full 5-person teams, right? But try to get another attack down champ in your comp. So someone like here, Padma, would be really good because she has that strong version attack down on her A1, booked 100% chance to land when she gets a crit. Really nice against any version of the Magma Dragon. But another great choice would be here, Sepulcher Sentinel. Jerick and Sepulcher Sentinel would be an awesome comp. Absolutely awesome. All right. Some of their skills would overlap a little bit, but not in a bad way. So if you have this team, definitely use them. On to everyone's gear stats and masteries, starting with Sentinel. So what is he doing for the team? Well, we're really relying on his A1 here, the hook. Booked 85% chance to land a provoke, but we need to build him with crit rate. So we are going to build him with crit rate so we can land that provoke. Now we're going to also increase this chance to 90% with the mastery that we'll talk about in a second. But 90% chance is not 100% chance, right? So sometimes he will fail. Sometimes he will die. So that's why I said it makes the run so much better if you have somebody like Syl in your team. Then you really don't need to rely on his provoke really happening close to 100% of the time for the run to succeed. Okay, just bring in somebody like Syl. If he occasionally doesn't get the provoke and he dies, it's okay. Syl can revive him and the team can continue on from there. But definitely we're looking at him not only because of his rare status and accessibility, but he is a good affinity for both Kuldaths, and he has a nice A1 provoke, very high chance to land when booked. Also, he has this passive here, so every other turn, there's a cooldown for this, or every other turn, he's going to heal himself for 10% of his max HP, and this heal can be critical. So this is like Apothecary that has that crit heal. So if you're building him with crit rate, which you should, to land that A1 provoke, then he's also getting a nice crit heal every other turn. So really good self-healing in addition to all the other healing that we're going to be getting for him. Onto his gear. So here, I have him in a Relentless set and an Immortal set. So that Immortal set, 15% HP plus 3% healing per turn. And that Relentless set, 18% chance to get an extra turn. So why do I put a Relentless set on Sentinel? Because he does not have 100% chance to land his provoke with his A1. It's only 90% chance when booked with Masteries. That's not enough. Against a long fight with Kuldath, really getting extra turns helps a lot. So the Relentless helps just in case you A1 Kuldath and you do not get that provoke off. If you proc an extra turn, then you get another chance to get that provoke off. So Relentless is a good choice. Another great choice would be Retaliation. It might be a better choice than Relentless. Now, I don't have a good Retaliation set for the stats I need for him. That's why I don't have him in one, but that would probably be a better set. But this in particular, Relentless, works well if you are using Sepulcher Sentinel. Okay, so once again, the Relentless works well if you're using Sepulcher Sentinel. If you're using Jerick, it does not work that well, because when Sentinel procs those extra turns, he's going to lose those buffs, in particular that ally protection buff. Okay, that is really one of the strengths of using Jerick, his ally protection and that defense up. But if Sentinel is proccing these extra turns all the time, then he's going to lose those buffs. All right, so if you're running the Jerick team, I would recommend not using a Relentless set. So when you see me run the Jerick team, I actually break the set. I put on a random piece of gear so the Relentless doesn't work. And that actually works better for the Jerick team. For the Sepulcher Sentinel team, Relentless works just fine. Now, for both, probably Retaliation would work a lot better. So if you have it, try to use that out. But the gear that I have right now, you're gonna see it works pretty well. On to his total stats. So here I have him at 56,000 health. I have the attack at 1800. The defense 2100, speed 177. So for the Eternal Dragon version, hard 100 Kuldath, the speed is 175, so get above 175. For the Frostbiter version, hard 110, make sure to get over 200 speed. Crit rate 107, remember we need that for that A1 provoke to land. Crit damage 107, debuff resistance 120, and debuff accuracy at 331. So both Kuldaths, hard 100 and hard 110, they both have the same resistance, 330. So make sure you get around 330 for your accuracy so you're able to match his resistance and land those debuffs. Onto his masteries. So here, I'm just gonna highlight a few of them. Really, we're looking down the defense tree for, firstly, Retribution. So when Sentinel takes a big hit over 25% of his max HP, he has a 50% chance to counterattack with his A1. And that's another chance to apply a provoke again. Yes, you can apply provokes off of counterattacks. This is another reason why I said the Retaliation set would be such a good choice. That is just another chance to reapply that A1 provoke. And that's why Relentless works good as well, but as I mentioned, probably not as good as a Retaliation set. So Retribution, once again, gives another chance to apply that provoke. We really need to keep the Magma Dragon provoked for as much as possible. If it's 100% of the time, the whole match, then great. That makes everything so much easier on us. But as many chances as we can to apply that A1 provoke. So here we have Fearsome Presence. Remember, booked Sentinel's A1 only has an 85% chance of landing that provoke when he gets a crit. So here with Fearsome Presence, it's going to be 90%. So does it make a difference? I think it makes a difference. But really depends on your team comp and how tanky you guys are. If you can risk not having this plus 5% chance to get that provoke off, or if you have a really good alternate provoker, then yes, you can go down the offense tree and get War Master. So that will definitely speed up your run if you add in that War Master. So here I went down the support tree just for increased accuracy. So that's all I'm trying to do with that support tree. But the big one here is going to be the defense tree, getting those counterattacks and A1s, plus getting that increased chance for landing that provoke. On to Scylla the Drake. So what does she bring to our team comps? Well, firstly, we are using her for passive here. So she is healing everybody on the team for 10% of their max health every time she takes a turn. Plus, she is putting on that speed up buff to somebody on the team, somebody randomly. But really good passive to keep people alive, especially in the Jerick comp, where Jerick is not self-healing, but is taking on additional damage because of the ally protection. Her revive is really useful as well, Phoenix, right? So sometimes Sentinel will fail to apply that A1 provoke, and people will end up taking big hits from AoEs, and likely Sentinel is going to be the person that dies. So just in case this happens, it's nice to have Syl with this revive. Her revive is really useful as well, Phoenix, right? So if anybody dies, it's usually Sentinel, and it's usually because he failed to provoke the Magma Dragon, and suddenly the team is taking big AoE hits. So it's really nice to have this ally protection revive just in case Sentinel dies. Syl's A2 Wingbeat Flurry is really nice for the wave, so it's a double hitter AoE, and every hit booked has a 35% chance to stun, so really good for crowd control. Unfortunately, Syl's A1 Drake Swiftness is not that useful for the Magma Dragon. So she has a strong version decreased speed debuff on her A1, but we cannot place that on Kuldath. He is immune to it. Plus, Syl has a turn meter reduction on her A1, and Kuldath is also immune to that. So really we're using that A1 just to hopefully proc War Master. Onto her gear. So here I have her in an Immortal and a Relentless set. So that Immortal plus 15% HP, plus 3% healing every time Syl takes a turn. This is in addition to her 10% healing everybody on the team with that passive of hers. And that Relentless 18% chance to get an extra turn, which is really nice because those can proc in a row. And every time she gets that, she is healing the whole team, including herself, for 10% of their max health. So if she gets a few turns in a row, all of a sudden, the whole team has 20-30% of their max health back pretty much immediately. So this is really why we're using that Relentless set. It works really well with people that heal off their passives, like Syl and like Doom Priest, for example. Onto her total stats. So here I have her at 77,000 health. I have the attack at 1600. I have the defense at 3300. I have the speed at 161. So she is not faster than the Magma Dragon, but it's okay. You'll see. Crit rate 38%, crit damage 127%, debuff resistance 251, and we have a debuff accuracy at 185. Yes, it's really low, but remember, we're not really putting any debuffs, at least on Kuldath. On to Syl's Masteries. So here I have Life Drinker, so if Syl gets under 50% health, she's going to start to heal for 5% of damage dealt, which is really nice in conjunction with the skill we have here, War Master. So she has a chance to inflict bonus damage based off enemy max HP. So the higher level, the more HP an enemy has, the more damage War Master will do. So really nice, that War Master and Life Drinker combo. Here I have Spirit Haste, so this is really nice because when somebody dies, then she gets a speed boost. And also, if you don't bring people in, let's say I run a team of 3, she gets a speed boost as if they were dead. All right, so either way, this is very nice for your support or reviving champs to have. This is why it's okay for her to be so slow, because she's getting a huge speed boost from me not bringing people in or from people occasionally dying. On to Sepulcher Sentinel. So what does she bring to the table? Firstly, she has a really nice aura, plus 25% defense in all battles. So this is all allies. Really nice. We are going to take advantage of this with her in the comp and put her in that lead position. Her passive is just insane. So here, Untouched by Death, basically when booked, she has a 50% chance of completely negating an ally's damage from an attack. Now, here's a weird thing. The way it reads, so notice the second line, will only block damage for the targeted ally if multiple allies are attacked at the same time. This makes it seem like this skill will only proc if an enemy is doing an AoE attack or something like that, where multiple allies are being targeted. But this is not true. So the Magma Dragon, when you provoke him, he's only hitting Sentinel. But this still procs, this still works. So, I don't know if it's meant to be that way or not. I hope Plarium does not change it. I'm fine with it the way that it is. But even in a duo, right? When you have the Magma Dragon just attacking Sentinel, this passive will proc a lot. Okay, so once again, it doesn't really work, I guess, as it reads. It works better, which I have no problem with. On to our A2. So here we have Sepulcher Shield. Really nice to have. Strong version, increased defense, plus block debuffs on the whole team for 2 turns, and when booked, this is on a 4-turn cooldown. So the gold guy Sentinel, man, if he has defense up, it definitely helps him with tanking those hits from the Magma Dragon. And her A1 is equally useful. Strong version attack down, when booked, 60% chance to land. Really, really good. And her affinity means that she has a good chance to land it here and a better chance to land it when we come to that Frost Spider rotation. On to her gear. So here, I have her in a relentless set and an accuracy set. So the accuracy set plus 40 accuracy. So to land that attack down, she definitely needs accuracy. And we definitely want her to land that A1 attack down as much as she can. So that relentless set, extra chances for extra turns. Remember, that passive of hers where she negates an ally's damage that they take, that is on a cooldown. 1-turn cooldown. It can only happen once per her turn. So the more turns she gets, the more chances she has for that to activate. Plus, all of her skills are cooled down more when she gets extra turns, so she can put up that defense up and that block debuffs more often. So definitely a really good choice for her, the relentless set. Onto her total stats. So here I have her at 35,000 health. I have the attack at 1900. I have the defense 3500. The speed 196. Crit rate 27%. Crit damage 135%. Debuff resistance 147, and debuff accuracy 392, so way over that 330 target that we were shooting for. Onto our masteries. So here I do have once again that Life Drinker and that War Master combo. So on the support tree, really on that tier 5 level, it's up to you. Here are a few good choices. So lasting gifts, if you want to extend those buffs that she has, so that defense up and block debuffs, you can potentially extend that. Here, Sniper, this would increase the chances of her landing that A1 strong version decreased attack. So increases that chance by 5%. So instead of 60% booked, it's 65% chance. And here, Master Hexer. So we're gonna potentially increase the duration of that strong version attack down from the A1, from 2 turns to 3 turns, potentially. So really any combination of these 3 I think would be a good choice for her. Alright guys, on to Jerick. So what is he doing for us? Firstly, his aura plus 33% ally HP in all battles. Absolutely huge. We're going to use him in the lead. This is a legendary class aura, the same as Roshkard, the same as Santa. So we're going to take advantage of this. Onto his passive. So this is really good as well, and really it separates Jerick from a lot of people in this game. Jerick is a healer. Jerick is a specialist at keeping your team alive. So with Sheltering Scales, if anyone takes a big hit over 20% of their max HP, 20% or more, then he's going to put a strong version continuous heal on them for 1 turn. Huge. Jerick is a healer. He can keep your team alive, and we can extend this buff from 1 turn to potentially 2 turns with a Mastery, which we'll talk about. Onto his A2. So pack leader here is really good, in particular for Sentinel. So Jerick is going to put a strong version, ally protection, and increased defense on the whole team. So really, we want to keep Sentinel alive, especially since he's provoking the Magma Dragon, hopefully most if not all of the time. Just because the Magma Dragon is just using his A1 doesn't mean it's not powerful. It hurts a lot. So any way we can mitigate that damage against Sentinel, all the better. Now Sepulcher Sentinel can mitigate it just with their passive, but here we don't have anything to just stop the damage. What we do have is ally protection to hopefully mitigate some of it. So Jerick will take 50% of it. So this is definitely a really good skill for this particular boss and for keeping Sentinel alive. Onto his A1. So here, booked, we have a 60% chance to land that strong version decreased attack with Jerick's A1. We definitely need this. This helps out a lot because remember, Jerick does not have 100% uptime on his A2 pack leader. That ally protection does not have 100% uptime. If it did, then honestly, we wouldn't care about Rending Claws. We wouldn't care about decreased attack. It's only because sometimes Sentinel will be unprotected that we need that attack down. It helps a lot. Okay, so that's really why we're looking at potentially extending this attack down. We'll talk about a mastery that we can use to extend this. But if it wasn't for that pack leader not having a 100% uptime, yes, we do need this A1 to land. Now, this is a bad affinity for this particular boss. So Jerick here, he has magic, and against force, it is a bad affinity. So sometimes he'll weak hit and not land those debuffs, but he'll land it most of the time. And you'll see, even when he doesn't, if he uses pack leader, it just doesn't matter. I mean, the Magma Dragon can go full force without decreased attack with his A1 against Sentinel. And when that pack leader is up, man, that stops so much of the damage. That mitigates so much of the damage against Sentinel. So really, we're looking at these things working in conjunction with one another. If we have at least one of them, either attack down on the boss or pack leader up and have the ally protection on Sentinel, then we should be good. If we have neither, then yeah, Sentinel's gonna die. Onto his gear. So here I have Jerick in a stalwart set and an accuracy set. So the accuracy set plus 40 accuracy in stalwart, minus 30% damage taken from AoE attacks. Now, is this the best set that is stalwart for this boss? Not necessarily, but sometimes Sentinel will fail, will not apply that A1 provoke, and all of a sudden your whole team is going to start taking AoEs from the Magma Dragon. So yes, it is useful, but you can switch this out for any other set really. If you want to use a regeneration set, if you want to use a lifesteal set, if you want to go full HP and go all immortal, something like that, I think that would be fine. But Stalwart definitely helps because if you're running a sort of bare bones team like this with only one provoker, yeah, he's going to fail. Even at a 90% chance, he's going to fail sometimes. And the team is going to start taking big AoE hits. So definitely Stalwart helps. Plus, Stalwart is a great set for a lot of the bosses in this game. So definitely a good choice for an all-around build for Jerick. On to his total stats. So here I have him at 61,000 health. I have the attack at 1,700. I have the defense 2,700. Speed at 228, so we are faster than both Magma Dragons. 100 and 110. Crit rate 38%, crit damage 104%. Debuff resistance 349. Don't worry about that. You really don't need that much resistance for this boss at all. But look at that accuracy, 366. So we are beating that 330 target that we were looking at for both highest levels of the Magma Dragon. Onto his Masteries. So here, down the offense tree, we do have that Life Drinker and that War Master combo. And on the support tree here, lasting gifts, so we potentially extend those buffs from 2 turns to 3 turns, right? That ally protection and that defense up strong version. So the more the better, the longer the better we can keep those up, especially the ally protection for Sentinel. And here we have Master Hexer, so we can potentially extend that A1 strong version attack down from 2 turns to 3 turns. So we definitely want to do that, especially if you want to use Jerick against a bad affinity, which I don't recommend. I mean, I don't recommend him being the only attack down champ. So if you're going to use a Jerick comp, try to bring in another attack down champ without that affinity disadvantage. But as you're going to see, he works just fine. But if you want a really consistent run, try to really not have any champs that you want to land debuffs to be the weak affinity. Alright guys, on to the Sepulcher Sentinel comp and the skill instructions. So really, we're just looking at Sentinel and we're just turning off this A2. That's it. Leave everyone else on default. Pretty simple. So I do have Sepulcher Sentinel in that lead spot for that increased defense in all battles. So definitely, if you're using a comp like this, make sure to put her in that lead spot. It makes a big difference. Plus, this comp is completely full auto. Now, in the first wave, I will target that bad L, but that's not even necessary. It just makes things go a little bit faster. Alright guys, on to the Jerick comp skill instructions, and similarly to the Sepulcher Sentinel skill instructions, all I'm looking at is Sentinel himself and turning off his A2. That's it. Leave everybody else on default. So Jerick will be taking the lead spot, giving everybody on the team plus 33% HP. Really good. And similarly to the other comp, this is completely full auto. Alright guys, that is it for today. I hope this video has given you some ideas for team comps for the Magma Dragon if you guys have been struggling with it. And if you haven't yet, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.